Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get to the insights that really matter. Now, I want you to picture something, well, pretty unremarkable, really. Simple, functional, maybe even a little boring, a gum shield. You know, that plastic thing you pop in your mouth before a game. But what if I told you that this simple object is actually a key player in a global economic story? We're talking billions.
For gum shields.
Yes, billions,
Yeah.
with a B. And it's not just big, it's growing in some really fascinating, kind of unexpected ways. So today, our mission is to peel back the layers of the Global Gum Shield Market Report 2025-2033. It's from Cognitive Market Research. And we're not just going to read you numbers. We want to give you a shortcut to understanding the deeper currents, the surprising dynamics of this very specific but incredibly robust global market.
Right. It's more than just tooth protection, isn't it? It's like a little window into global shifts. Health, sports, consumer behavior, all that.
Exactly. Okay, so let's unpack this. Because the thing that just jumps out immediately from this report, honestly, it's the sheer scale. It's kind of astonishing. When I first saw these figures, I genuinely did a double take. We're talking about an industry that pulled in over $2.2 billion globally back in 2021.
$2.2 billion. Okay.
And it's projected to nearly double, to over $4 billion by 2033.
Wow. $4 billion.
$4 billion for, gum shields. And it's holding this remarkably consistent growth rate, the compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 5.11% over that whole time.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here, I think, isn't purely the overall size, It's more about that steady, that consistent growth.
Right.
A product like a gum shield, which, seems maybe a bit niche at first glance, it actually acts as a really clear barometer for several sort of underlying global trends. That 5.11% CAGR, it's not like, the crazy explosive growth you see in some tech sectors.
No, it's different.
It signals something much more fundamental, a remarkably stable and substantial expansion. It tells us about rising global health awareness, definitely.
Okay.
Increasing participation in organized sports, across all levels. And also an evolving landscape of consumer spending where people are actually willing to invest more in personal safety, active lifestyles.
So it's not just a flash in the pan.
Not at all. It's just this deep-seated, expanding demand that's just quietly but surely increasing its footprint year after year.
That distinction.
Yeah.
Explosive versus stable growth, that feels absolutely critical. It shows a market that's, resilient, foundational maybe.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Because when we drill down into the report, we find that not all growth is created equal.
The regional differences.
Exactly. The biggest puzzle this report kind of throws up isn't just the overall scale, it's the totally unexpected hotspots for growth. Places that are really challenging our assumptions about, global economics. We're going to uncover where the real dynamism is. And it might not be where you'd first think.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Right, let's kick things off with a region that genuinely surprised me. Africa. Prepare for an eye-opener here.
Africa.
Africa is projected to have the highest CAGR of any region in this entire report. We're talking an unprecedented 9.27%.
9.27, that's huge.
It is. The market there, it starts smaller, but it's set to nearly triple over the decade.
Triple. Wow.
Yeah, growing from around $34 million in 2021 to over $91 million by 2033. And within Africa, you look at countries like Nigeria, South Africa, their markets are effectively doubling, even tripling in size.
Okay, so that raises a really important question then. What on earth is fueling that kind of surge in Africa? I mean, pushing it ahead of so many other regions.
What is it?
Well, the report actually highlights this really interesting mix of factors. It points to specific government initiatives, things like funding school sports programs, particularly mentioned in places like Nigeria.
So grassroots level stuff.
Exactly, fostering widespread participation right from the ground up. But then at the same time, you've got this rapidly growing middle class.
Right, more disposable income.
Precisely, and they're actively seeking out protective gear for a wider range of contact sports. Sports that are just getting more popular there, so it's not just, organic growth from a low base.
They're being pushed.
It's being catalyzed
Yeah.
by specific policy decisions. Yeah, and these big socioeconomic shifts the report talks about, like increasing urbanization, these large youth populations, getting really active and organized physical stuff. It's quite a powerful testament, actually, to developing economies, investing in their youth in public health.
That context makes so much sense. The government initiatives, the growing middle class, it elevates it beyond just People are playing more sports.
Mm.
So Africa is clearly the standout for accelerating growth. But Asia-Pacific isn't exactly lagging behind, is it? It's proving to be another really dynamic engine for the gum shield market.
Yeah, Asia-Pacic's showing really strong momentum, too.
The report shows a robust 6.04% CAGR there, expected to nearly double its market size from, about $429 million in 2021
Uh-huh.
to over $843 million by 2033. And you see really impressive dynamism in places like Singapore. Its market's more than doubling. India, too, seeing its market more than double to over $150 million.
Big numbers.
Huge. But even within this high-growth area, there are nuances, right? Like, you look at Taiwan, and the growth is way slower.
Yeah.
Almost a third of the pace of those faster areas.
It's a diverse picture, isn't it? Asia-Pacific, you see a mix of similar drivers to Africa, like the rapid urbanization, massive youth population, rising income.
Right.
But also, in many areas, a really established and competitive sports culture already exists. The report seems to suggest that alongside, more traditional sport participation increasing, there's also a growing trend in things like combat sports, extreme sports, where, let's face it, gum shields are pretty much essential.
Absolutely necessary.
So the slower growth in specific places like Taiwan, that might just indicate more mature sort of micro markets within the region, or maybe just different cultural takes on sport and safety. It just reinforces that idea, doesn't it? Even within a broadly growing region, local dynamics matter a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And we shouldn't overlook South America either. It's expanding pretty solidly.
Right, another growth area.
The region as a whole shows a healthy 6.19% CAGR, projected to grow its market from roughly $154 million up to over $310 million by 2033.
Doubling again.
Pretty much. And key players there seem to be Argentina and Colombia, both seeing their markets more than double too.
South America's growth is particularly interesting when you think about the massive sports culture there, especially around, football, soccer.
Yeah, but do footballers wear gum shields that often?
Not always. Traditionally, no. But the report likely points towards maybe the increasing professionalization and just the sheer intensity of many contact sports nowadays. Plus the rise of other sports. Rugby's big in places, various martial arts. And there's also just this growing awareness everywhere, isn't there, about concussion prevention, general safety in sports.
Sure.
It's pushing even people in sports you wouldn't normally associate with protective gear towards maybe adopting gum shields. It speaks to that broader kind of global shift in sports culture.
Okay, so we've got these incredible growth dynamos, Africa, Asia-Pacific, South America, surging ahead.
Yeah, high growth zones.
But while these emerging markets are booming, we can't forget the established titans of the industry, can we? So what do the numbers tell us about the long-standing players?
The big guys.
Right. North America, for instance. Still the absolute largest market.
Yeah.
By a long way. It's the undisputed heavyweight champ.
No surprise there.
Valued at over $900 million back in 2021. It's projected to hit a staggering $1.59 billion by 2033.
Wow, 1.6 billion almost?
Yeah. With a solid, 4.68% CAGR. Not explosive like Africa, but solid. And the U.S., as you'd guess, is just colossal within that, growing to over $1.2 billion itself. Canada and Mexico are adding quite a bit, too. These aren't those crazy high growth rates, but
Right.
when you're starting from such a massive base,
Right.
even a moderate CAGR adds hundreds of millions in value.
That's exactly it. The sheer volume in North America means even that sort of modest percentage growth translates into immense absolute market expansion.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating there is that the growth drivers, they're different in such a mature market, aren't they?
How so?
Well, you're talking less about people buying their first gum shield.
Okay. More replacements.
Exactly. Replacement cycles. And premiumization. Think custom-fitted ones, high-tech mouth guards, that kind of thing.
Expensive ones.
Yeah, and just an expanding range of sports and recreational activities where people use them. The market might be pretty saturated in terms of basic adoption, but the demand is sustained by consistent participation, higher awareness about injury prevention, and, crucially, a willingness to spend more on higher quality gear.
Makes sense.
It's really a testament to the power of that established sports culture and, disposable income.
In Europe, it seems like a similar picture. Substantial, but maybe a bit more diverse internally.
Pretty similar, yeah.
It's growing its market from over $650 million to over $1.1 billion by 2033. That's
Yeah.
4.79% CAGR, so very close to North America's rate.
Right. Still very significant growth in absolute terms.
But you see these varied growth rates across the continent. France, for example, showing a stronger pace.
Yeah.
Its market's basically doubling.
Okay, interesting.
But then you look at countries like, say, Denmark and Sweden. Much slower expansion, growing closer to just 3% annually, reflecting maybe a more saturated market there.
I think that's likely. The European market, much like North America, is largely mature. Those regional variations are intriguing, though. Stronger growth in France, maybe linked to specific government support for youth sports, or perhaps a cultural shift, more contact sports becoming mainstream there.
Could be.
And conversely, the slower rates in Denmark, Sweden, yeah, could indicate really saturated markets. Almost everyone who needs one has one. Or maybe just a different emphasis on the types of sports people play that require protection. It certainly forces manufacturers, doesn't it? They have to think about product innovation, brand loyalty, maybe even different ways to sell things, just to maintain growth in those really established areas.
Yeah, you can't just rely on new users coming in.
Precisely.
Okay, and finally, let's touch on the Middle East, which the report shows having the lowest regional CAGR, just under 3%.
Okay, the slowest growth overall.
Yeah, growing its market from about $90 million to $135 million.
Yeah.
And we even see some of the lowest individual country CAGRs here. Turkey and Qatar both reporting just over 2.4%.
That's interesting, because you've got considerable economic development in parts of the Middle East, right?
You do, yeah.
But the gum shield market isn't showing that same dynamism we saw in, say, Africa or Asia Pacific. Why might that be?
Good question.
Well, it could be a mix of things, maybe cultural priorities regarding specific sports, or perhaps just a slower adoption of protective gear across the broader population there.
Could be.
The report doesn't spell out all the cultural nuances, obviously, but it does imply that just having the economic infrastructure, that doesn't automatically guarantee high market growth if the underlying cultural factors or behaviors aren't quite aligned yet.
Right.
It suggests it's a market where maybe a different approach is needed, different marketing, different consumer education, perhaps.
Okay, so let's try and pull all of this together then.
Yeah.
What we've really seen is, well, it's a truly global picture, isn't it? But one with two quite distinct kinds of market dynamics playing out.
Yeah, two clear streams.
On one hand, you've got that explosive high percentage growth, emerging regions like Africa, Asia Pacific, South America, where markets are rapidly doubling, even tripling.
Huge potential, rapid expansion.
And then on the other hand, you have the steady, substantial growth in the mature markets. North America, Europe. Slower in percentage terms, sure, but adding massive amounts. Hundreds of millions, even billions in absolute value because they're already so big.
Exactly. So if we kind of connect all this back to the bigger picture.
Right, what does it all mean?
Well, for you, the listener,
Yeah.
whether you're maybe an entrepreneur, an investor, or honestly just someone curious about global trends, this Gum Shield report, it provides a fantastic little microcosm. It really underlines these significant opportunities for manufacturers. They can expand into those rapidly growing economies if they understand and adapt to those specific local drivers we talked about.
Like the government programs in Africa or the sports culture shifts in Asia Pacific.
Precisely. But at the same time, they absolutely have to keep innovating, differentiating themselves, and sustaining their strongholds in the mature markets. Because there, the competition's fiercer, and growth is driven more by those premium products, those replacement cycles.
So it's not just about selling more gum shields.
No, not at all. It's about spotting these global economic shifts of these consumer trends at a really granular level. It's about understanding that, well, the game is played differently in different arenas around the world.
Exactly. It's about seeing the forest for the trees. Or, seeing the complex, interconnected global economy reflected in something as simple as a gum shield.
Well put.
We started this deep dive with that big global overview, didn't we? Then we zoomed right into the surprising nuances, regional growth, country-specific stuff. We saw that unexpected dynamism in Africa, the strong momentum in Asia Pacific, solid expansion in South America, and contrasted all that with the steady foundational strength of North America and Europe. This really vibrant, constantly evolving landscape.
It really is. And, that leads us to maybe a thought-provoking question for you to consider long after this deep dive is over.
Okay.
Given these incredibly diverse growth patterns and the distinct opportunities they present for manufacturers, how might the actual function, or maybe even the design, of gum shields themselves evolve in these different markets?
Good question. Beyond just basic protection.
Exactly. We've mostly talked about traditional sports protection, But what entirely new applications or specific consumer needs might drive the next wave of growth, particularly in those rapidly expanding regions we identified?
That's a fantastic question to chew on. Seriously, think about it. Could we see gum shields integrated with, I don't know, biometric sensors, especially for sports where concussion is such a huge concern?
That's a definite possibility. Technology integration.
Or maybe highly customized designs, things that cater to specific cultural aesthetics, or maybe lesser-known traditional sports in some of these emerging markets.
Right. Or new materials, perhaps. Lighter, more comfortable protection.
Yeah, or even smart designs that give athletes personalized feedback somehow. The possibilities for innovation seem as varied as the markets themselves, don't they? Pushing way beyond just basic protection.
It forces us to think beyond the obvious application, doesn't it? Could a gum shield in some places become more of a, I don't know, a fashion statement? Or even a health monitoring device that links to your phone?
Who knows?
The report shows us the economic path, but that innovation path, that's still a really open field, ripe for creative thinkers to explore.
Absolutely. The future of the gum shield market might look very, very different depending on whether you're standing in Lagos or Tokyo or New York. And well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us on this fascinating journey into the surprisingly dynamic world of the global gum shield market.
It was really interesting.
We hope you gained some surprising insights, maybe a new perspective on just how interconnected our world truly is, even through everyday objects. Until next time, keep digging deeper.